out there waiting. Holy smokes. And here it is, Friday night, and everybody's working himself up into a fantastic sweat. And here I am, and there you are. And it's time for... Oh, God, it's right on the tip of my tongue. What was the name of that fantastic story about this kid that walked around, and he had this master that built him... he was a puppet, and he had this master that built him, somebody named... Capizio, I think, was the name of the guy that made him. And he was an old wood cutter and a carpenter, Capizio. And what was the name of the kid? And his nose would grow every time he would tell a lie. Pistachio. And, it was... It doesn't sound right. Pistachio. And, it was Pistachio. And I remember this kid walking around, see, and I saw this as a Walt Disney cartoon, and of course I'd also read it. It was a very favorite story of Miss Breyfogle used to read it to us all the time, because she had this thing. She had a fantastic nose, Miss Breyfogle. And I guess maybe there was a connection. So tonight, maybe about 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, I'm walking around in Times Square, and you know how it is. It's hot and cool and nice and great in summertime, and you can feel the beat building up all around you. And I walk past this joint where they're selling art films. They got a little thing in the window that says art films, 8mm art films for men only. And I guess there is two kinds of art. One kind of art for women, one kind for men, and then there's just art. And there's a thing that says art films, and there was a picture there. They had these posters, these posters of Marlon Brando, these pop art posters, Marlon Brando, LBJ, Roy Rogers and his great horse, Flicker. Is that his name, Flicker, his horse? Trigger? Trigger. Oh, yes, I understand he had Trigger stuffed, didn't he? Trigger stuffed, yes. The original Trigger stuffed, which reminds me, friends, I have an ad here. I want to tell you, that you can buy an art poster of this kid with the big nose. Yeah, it's Pistachio, the kid with the big nose. It's in color. And I have an ad here that I just must read to you that has to do with, here it is. Oh, shucks, no. Doggone it, I left it somewhere. Oh, yes, here it is. Convert your pet cat into a beautiful doorstop. Natural pose, well-stuffed, moth-proof, lead-weighted for stability. Built-in purr. Eyes lighted by battery or electric connection. A real conversation piece will give years of service. Well, I imagine that would be a real conversation piece. You get your pet cat stuffed and its eyes light up and it has an electronic purr and it's operated by battery. I can't imagine anything that could cause more conversation. In fact, it might even cause a few lynching parties to break out in your neighborhood. But then again, Trigger stuff. And so, I have a little tune here. It says, I've got to stop smoking, my doctor has said, or else when I'm 7, I'm sure to be dead. The kid wrote me this poem. Cigarettes can cause cancer, and that makes no sense, so I must stop stealing my daddy's dear Kents. No, here in the 60s, when going with chicks, cigarettes can bring status to a boy who is 6. But I must live clean now. At 6, life is ripe. Cigarettes I will give up and switch to a pipe. Da-da-dee-dee. Bring it in there now. Come on. I'm going to salute that kid out there. Oh, ching-ching. What was the name of that kid? It doesn't sound right. Pistachio. Oh, well, Anybody know the name of that kid out there? All right, bring it up there big. All right, come on, listen. Oh, I wish I could shimmy. Like my sister Kate. Oh, she shakes it. She shakes it like jelly on a plate. Oh, the boys all come around from miles around to see my sister Kate shaking like jelly on a plate. Oh, I wish I could shimmy like my sister Kate. Oh, she shakes it. I said breaks it. Shakes it like jelly on a plate. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Oh, I wish I could shimmy like my sister Kate. Ba-ba-ba.
I wish I could shimmy like my sister Kate.
you talking?
She shakes
it.
like a bowl of
Breaks it.
jelly on
Like
the plate.
jelly.
Mama,
Ba-ba-boo-boo. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-boo.
all the boys read cake.
Oh, they come around. Oh.
Every boy on our neighborhood block. No chicken shimmy. They're all packing stock.
Yeah.
Amen. I may be late, but I'll get up
Oh,
today.
I hear you talking.
Shimmy like my sister.
Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy.
Shimmy like my sister.
Oh, shaking like jelly on a plate. I wish I could shimmy like my sister Kate. Oh, she shakes it, breaks it, like jelly on a plate. Oh, like jelly. I wish I could shimmy like my sister Kate. Oh, yeah. Rock out. That's enough of that, for crying out loud. There will liable to be women and children listening to the whole thing. This is the family station. Of course, we ain't saying what kind of family we're directed at. I could see that family, the typical WOR family sitting in this sleazy one-room apartment, with the busted plaster and the cockroaches running in and out from under the sink. A George Price family. Speaking of headaches, would you please hit the button there? Hit it there. Hit it there. Oh, yeah. Oh, Miller. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute here. What kind of an engineering department we got here? Crying out loud. Wait a minute. I'm picking up WINS on my cans. Oh, yeah, Miller friends. How you doing out there for your weekend? Are you ready? You better lay in a big, fat, fantastic six-pack of Miller, the champagne of bottled beer. Because, man, if you run out of beer about, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, the Mets are 7 runs behind, you're going to want something to make you forget what's happening. That's Miller High Life, friends, the champagne of bottled beers. They make it right. Yeah, hearty, robust, deep down good. People on the go know that Miller High Life makes it go even further. The champagne of bottled beer. Oh, Miller, yeah, right. Miller makes it right. Ba-ba-boo-ba-boo-ba. How'd you like that? Have you noticed, friends, there is no substitute for talent? Oh, yeah, speaking of talent, I got a little note here I thought you ought to know. By the way, that cat that you can get stuffed it's no joke. I mean, you can get your cat stuffed if you want to. Makes a great doorstop. Speaking of the animal world, we have a little note here that terrible thing. I don't know what's happening lately. I mean, things are going bad all over the place. We have a little note that came in. You don't hear the real news on the air. I mean, they constantly have news about what's happening all over the world, but not really what's happening. Here's a little note from Low Heskett, England. That's a great name for a town anyway. Low Heskett, England. A pedigreed white terrier named Charlotte upset well-laid plans last Friday when she upset a vial of pills on a table and gobbled up the entire lot. These pills, friends, were pills. You know what is it when they talk about the pill? Little old Charlotte ate up a whole bottle of them little old pills. And, well, I just would like to point out that the Saturday, which was the day after the Friday, they had made arrangements for Charlotte to meet this very, very well-bred gentleman dog, and it was a very important meeting. And Charlotte will not be able to make that meeting now for some months. And maybe Charlotte was one of the newer dog ladies around. And, you know, she felt that her freedom was much more important. Really, just, you know. And, speaking of pills, this is WOR. And it is a bitter pill. And this is WOR. It is a bitter pill, friends. And this is Radio Free Broadway, and I'm me. Let's see. It's Pistachio. Anybody call it Pistachio? There's a Walt Disney cartoon, the little nose there. I remember there was another one, too. It was very, very important about that time when I was reading about Pistachio. And you're right. You're right. The name of the guy that made this thing was not Capizio. It was Cappuccino, some kind of an Italian name. And he was, you know, a simple little country wood maker. And he, you know, made things out of wood. And he made this little guy called Pistachio. And he was alive. I don't know how he made him alive, but he was alive, and he walked around, and his nose grew every time he told a rotten, stinking lie. Can you imagine what would happen if that ever happened to us? Can you imagine people have to go around with their noses in wheelbarrows? Can you imagine the average guy working in an ad agency who, say, spends 10 years writing ad copy for the average product? Holy smokes. I mean, you know, it could go... which reminds me here... got another thing I want to do. Let's get these commercials out of the way. Speaking of great commercials here, we've got Rosetta with us this weekend. And, of course, it's too late now because you're probably going home for the weekend. But next weekend, if you're going to do a lot of little fun stuff around the house with electricity, you know, Japanese lanterns out in the backyard and electronic fly catchers and stuff like that, well, there are 3 fantastic Rosetta stores. One at 79 Chambers Street, one at 75 West 45th Street off 6th Avenue, and their big new showroom at 73 Murray Street, just 2 blocks west of the City Hall. And that's a great place to start work on that project, that homemade electric chair that you've been going to build for a long time. And if you'd like a catalog, they send a fantastic 4-color catalog out, but you have to be over 21 to get it. And it comes in brown sealed wrapper. Nobody will be able to know. And just send a card here, a smudgy card would even do better. Couple of thumbprints on it. Just say Rosetta, baby, and they'll know. And you'll get that catalog. And no one in your neighborhood will know. Let's see, we've got Rosetta, Miller. Oh, yes, you got another one in there. Another whoopee in there. Hit it hard, Bob.
Let's not kid around about pain. When you hurt, you want relief.
Let's talking about pills, you know.
You've got several hundred pain relievers to choose from, but there's one among all the leading brands
a lot of pain
that
relievers.
has more of the pain reliever doctors recommend most. That's today's Anacin.
The medical facts are that 2 Anacin tablets give you 100% more of that pain-relieving ingredient than 2 of the so-called extra strength.
I wonder what that ingredient is.
Let me repeat that.
Okay.
2 Anacin give you 100% more of the pain reliever doctors recommend most.
Very interesting.
100% more than 2 of the so-called extra strength.
So-called, you know those.
Just remember that the next time headache pain strikes. Only Anacin, among the leading extra-strength brands, has 100% more of the pain-relieving ingredient doctors recommend most. That's why people who know pain swear by Anacin.
A lot of people know pain. Okay.
It's today's quick, sure, strong one.
Well, that was very nice, fellow. I'm glad you dropped in. Thank you very much. I don't know why they, you know, there must be a secret comment on the people who listen to my show. Excuse me. You have any more to say there, friend?
You heard. You want...
Oh, okay. Well, I heard a lot of times, friend. A lot of ways. It's just you can't scratch. But that's all right. You go in the next room. Get out of here, will you? Guy's on the Barry Farber show later. Son of a gun is warming up. Well, probably knows plenty of pain. But nevertheless, speaking of knowing pain well, friends, how many of you out there remember one of the great characters of American literature? Now, I'm one of these people who feel that literature is not necessarily found in hard covers, and it's not necessarily found at the Bijou. And, literature can be many things, and I wonder how many of you remember that great unsung character out of American literature, Peter Payne. You remember Peter Payne? You know? Have you ever heard the name Peter Payne, Bob? Peter Payne, yeah. You know who Peter Payne is. Do you know who he worked for? Who was the outfit? Sloane's Liniment? No, Sloane. No, Peter. That's right. Peter Pan worked for Ben Gay, and I was so sorry when they kicked Peter Payne out of the business. Yeah, he's retired now. And a few nights ago, I saw him down at the Gaiety. The old showbiz deli down here. And you see these old guys sitting around, and Peter's still green, incidentally, shaped like a pickle. He still is green. And, he sticks with that derby hat. Of course, he's like, all the great characters. They create an image, and they stick with it. Harold Lloyd, still walks around with glasses on. He sees as well as anybody. Where's he got? You know that Groucho Marx still paints that mustache on him. It's part of his life. And Peter's sitting down there. It was sad to see him eating that pastrami with that little derby hat on. Had his pitchfork with him, by the way. Carries it around in a little leather case in case he gets a call from Ed Sullivan or something to do his act again. You know how old showbiz people never give up. And I saw Peter sitting down there with a lot of, comics that are kind of walking around and scratch. Milt Kamen and that crowd, they're down at the deli eating stuff. And he was one of the great comics of his time. And I remember as a kid, I was such a great Peter Payne fan. If you remember Peter Payne, he was always in this little comic strip that was underneath, say, stuff like Winnie Winkle, Terry and the Pirates. And I remember Peter, a typical Peter Payne plot. It shows this girl, see, and she's sitting in her boudoir, and she's looking at the mirror. Boudoir. Don't you know what a boudoir is? Don't you remember him? He used to be with Cleveland. Yeah, he was manager, playing manager. Not many of them around. He was a fantastic shortstop now. Boo, boo, boo. Well, all right, I'm sorry. Lou Boudoir. Well, okay, all right. Crying out loud. Yeah. All right. So anyway, I'm very impressionable at that age. Of course, I wish I could grow out of my impressionable age. I'm still very impressionable. I'm impressed by everything. Have you noticed that? Yeah, I'm impressed by a lot of things. I'm impressed by the kind of shoes that Bob Smith wears here at the station. They squeak. I'm impressed by so many things that I shouldn't be. And I'm a kid, I'm sitting around and every day I'd get the comics, and particularly on Sundays we'd get comics, and we were a very lucky family. Did I tell you about one of the great strokes that happened when I was a kid? Would you please sneak it in there? I need a little mood music, please. Bring it in, just a little soft music. Yes, that's nice. Bring it in there. We've set up the mood. All right, King. Whispering while you cuddle near me, baby. Oh, whispering. Oh, they can't hear me. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, how sweet. I can't stand it. Oh, this stuff hits me where I live.
I know it.
Oh, wow. No one. Oh, but you.
You're whispering while you're
Very nice. That was so nice. We have a note here. It says, Ted Hamey, a banana farmer in Coffs Harbour, Australia. I was in Coffs Harbour, Australia, where they grow the bananas. He said his bananas were weak and puny. And I just want to bring this. Will you reset that? Will you, I'm going to need this here. For people who complain about the occasional little bursts of bad music, and they say it's bad, I refuse to concede that there's anything bad in this world that man can contribute to the general desert that we're all here walking around in. Did somebody cough about that? What's the matter? You mean the people are complaining? They're saying that I didn't say. Listen, I did not say that this cappuccino had anything to do with the mafia. He was a simple little Italian woodworker. I mean, I'm sorry, fellas. I mean, it's getting so that you can't mention anybody's name on the air without getting a lot of complaints. And I said nothing against Pistachio, that poor little kid. I know how it is, with the big nose. What's the operator mad about? Has that operator ever been anything but mad? Has that? No, come on. That's nothing. That's a common operator syndrome. I'm sorry we bother her television viewing. That sometimes gets in the way there. But nevertheless, you walk around, you scratch during your day, and I was thinking, that people do. I got a whole bunch of letters the other night that says, Shepard, that singing of yours is just terrible. That's rotten. Then I get a lot of other letters that say that singing of yours is just great. So you don't know which way you can't listen to the letters. But I just want to remind you of one thing. A little note here says, a banana farmer, Ted Hamey. Now, I met Ted Hamey when I was in Coffs Harbour, Australia. I'll tell you about Coffs Harbour is on the coast of Australia. Now, you never think of Australia as being a banana scene where they, grow bananas, but it is very tropical, I say. And Ted Hamey has a little place that he homesteaded there, and he grows bananas, and he had these bananas all over. Of course, they have a lot of trouble with snakes there, and these little banana trees are everywhere. And he has a house. Now, you won't believe this, but it's true. He's got a house shaped like a banana. This guy's really Yes, I'm not kidding. He made a house shaped like a banana. It's a terrible-looking house, but it's his, and it's got a front porch. If you've ever seen a banana with a front porch on it, I'm not kidding. Everybody's laughing. It's the truth. Ted Hamey has got a house shaped like a banana in Coffs Harbour, and they all think he's an absolute nut. He's an American. And he went out there and built, yes, I'm not kidding. He built this house, and it's shaped like a banana, and he grows bananas there. Well, now, 2 years ago, when I was in Australia, he was having a terrible time with the banana crop. And he said that he'd been growing bananas the first couple of years, everything was great. And then his bananas became pale and sickly. And I'm reading to you a note just came in. Ted has made the National Newswire. Ted Hamey, banana farmer in Coffs Harbour, Australia, said his bananas were weak and puny until he and his helper rigged up a loudspeaker and played music to the bananas day and night. The results were fantastic. One banana plot, which listened to the music for over a year, produced a crop which experts say, and we quote here the experts, there's a lot of banana experts around, quote, out of all proportion to the fertilizer used. These gigantic, incredible bananas. And by the way, I'll bet not one of you know what they use for fertilizer on bananas. I do. And I'm not saying. I just let it stay out there. The music is not exactly symphonic caliber, just loud, raucous music. But the bananas apparently dig loud, raucous music. He said because his bananas are growing like Billy be damned. Well, now, would you please bring me a little of that? For those of you out there who are undersized shrimps, just get close to your radio there. You never know, this stuff might help. Yeah, whispering. I hear you whispering, baby. Oh, there's nothing but me and my shadow walking along this old lonely road. Just me and my shadow and you whispering while you cuddle near me, baby. Whispering. Yes, sirree, Bob. Oh, you'll never leave me, baby. In fact, I couldn't get rid of you without a crowbar, the way it looks. Blah-blah-boo-boo. Oh, whispering that I love you. All together now, let's sing it all out, gang. It's time to All right, now come on, we're doing our best. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. Oh, I hear you whispering, baby. Yes, sir. I've got a There, did you feel yourself growing? Sitting a little taller out there now? look, I think man is superior to the banana, and if loud, raucous music works on bananas, it ought to do wonders for man. I have a theory. You are now about to hear a theory. You ready for it? And I'll bet in 10 years there will be physiologists writing about this phenomena. Do you know that nobody has been able to really discover why half the kids today are 7 feet tall? I'm serious. Very, very serious. Half the kids today are going to be, they're 6'9", 7 feet 2, and no amount of arguing that their diet is better, that much better, is going to account for the fact that every kid today is 1.5 feet taller than the rest of the people in his family. It is not that much different in the diet. Has anyone yet proposed that this is the first generation that has sat for maybe 5 years of its most formative years listening to ear-splitting, loud, raucous, rotten music played on 75-watt amplifiers turned all the way up? Not kidding. It could very well have done it. Well, there's a lady someplace out in where is it, Salem, Oregon, who was having trouble with her African violets. And the violets were withering and dying, and the aphids were yelling and hollering and having a ball all the time in the violets. And she had terrible success. And one day she said to herself, there must be something to do. I have to be able to do something with my African violets. And so she sat by the poor little pot there where the African violets were drooping. And she looked at the African violets. And she said to herself, I love African violets. And she looked at the African violet and said in a voice, in a clearly audible voice, she said, it's very important. She said to the African violet, I love you, little African violet. You have no idea how much I love you. Well, she did that every day for 2.5 hours just before supper time. And by the end of the week, this little African violet was sitting up straight. And do you know, today, she has African violets that are over 12 feet tall, all around the house. In fact, you can't even get into the house sometimes with the African violets. So don't laugh at things like this. Now, oh yes, the power of persuasion and the mental waves and the radiated magnetic forces that man is able... the brain, you're aware that the brain is an electrical contrivance. Ever think much about that? It's an electrical contrivance, and they hook all these little electrodes all over your head, and they can flip the galvanometers up. Yeah, little electrical currents going in and out of there. Well, now, they know that the brain radiates electrical energy, waves, like a little transmitter. Now, they have not yet discovered a really good way, an adequate way, they can only measure it, to receive those waves and then to rectify them. In other words, decipher them. Now, think carefully about this. And they have found out, and this is the most sinister of all, they have found out that when brain waves that are being radiated from the human brain are radiatable through Class C amplifiers, which is to say, friend, that I can radiate my brain waves right through this microphone and transmit them via the fantastic electronic magic of WOR, which, as you know, is more magical than any other radio station. We can transmit these waves out to you through your crummy little Japanese transistor radio. No joke. And you know that there is another theory around it. Says, you know how ape the world has gone since about the mid-1930s? The world has gone completely ape. I mean, the world is far apier than it must have been in the days when we were swinging in the trees. And they say it is not a coincidence, some scientists believe, that this apiness grew as electronic means of communications grew. And that we're radiating everything is being radiated all over the place, and you don't know what you're picking up from, say, Zsa Zsa Gabor. You're just sitting there watching TV, and the next thing you know, this thing is coming right out at you. Now, I'm going to try and experiment. If you're willing and ready to be part of an experiment. Now, I'm sitting here. I've got electrodes on my head. You see them, Bob, don't you? You got them all hooked up here. I really have them. And I've got two metal plates, one attached to my left ear, one attached to my right ear. And so there is a potential that is being created between these two. You don't mind this kind of show once in a while? We get a little people are interested in, scientific things. I wonder how many of you know how your radio works. You want me to explain to you how your radio works tonight? You don't? Okay, I won't then. No. I never force anything upon anybody. No. I could have very easily have done that. It might have been handy to you, but all right, I'll give you a little thumbnail description of how your radio works. In the beginning, there is the aerial. And, how's that for the opening line of a Marshall McLuhan Bible? All right, in the beginning, there is the aerial, see? And in your little radio, even when you got a little radio that is a little pocket $2.50 Japanese transistor radio with a little 9-volt battery in it, it has an aerial in it, It is. It's in there. It's a wire-wound coil in the case of a little Japanese radio or any kind of a transistor radio. Now, that little aerial picks up minute electrical energy charges from the air. Now, we could go into that. We could tell you all the various theories of radiation, but that's not important. Let us say that there's little electrical charges that are floating around in the air all the time. Now, those electrical charges are indiscriminate as far as your head is concerned. Right there, right around. If you were to reach out your hand, now just reach your hand out, friend, and just hold your hand, make it like a cup, see? And make it like a dish with two hands. That's a parabolic reflector. It is. It's a pretty high frequency one, but nevertheless, it's a parabolic reflector, and it's got a lot of dielectric leakage in it. But there it is. Now, that parabolic reflector, as you sit out there right now, is picking up some of the doggonest junk you could ever conceive of. First of all, you're getting all kinds. You get a lot of Cousin Brucey. You get Long John. You get me. You're getting a Brad. You're getting the whole scene all in one hand. You're also getting a UHF TV. There's a lady there who's giving lessons in Etruscan art on Channel 13. You're getting all this stuff, and it's all in a giant jumble. See, it's all in the air. It's all there. It's all floating around. The Russian ships at sea talking to the submarines. The planes talking to the tower at LaGuardia. It's all in the air. See. Well, now your radio set is the sneaky little thing that picks the specific thing out of that fantastic jumble. It's got this little area sticking up, see? And that area picks up all of these sounds, all of these little electrical energy charges. Now, right after the aerial comes this little thing called the tuned RF circuit. Now, that makes a rough, it selects, you tune a little knob, see, and it selects which one of the sounds you're going to hear. And then it is amplified, and then it goes through an IF stage and a rectifier stage, and then those little the voice energies that are flickering up on top of those little waves that are being sent out, finally rattle that little crummy paper cone of your loudspeaker, and guess who comes out? Me. But that ain't all that's coming out. Scientists are beginning to discover that a lot more is floating around that radio set than just me, my voice. Now, what if I were to concentrate right now? I will concentrate for 10 seconds. I want you to concentrate out there. Look at your radio set as you do it, especially if you're driving a car and you're going along the Jersey Turnpike. I want you to stare fixedly at your radio dial for the next 15 seconds and do not take your eyes off that dial. Well, I'm going to see some action here tonight, friends. Okay? Now, concentrate. By the way, it's Friday night. On a big 4th of July weekend, and the reason I'm doing such a peculiar show here tonight is because we recognize that on the weekend, and especially on 4th of July weekend, that there's nobody listening. Just us, me, and occasionally Bob Considine, the engineer there. He listens only every third or fourth thing. My producer's asleep, and all the guys that run the radio station are off on the fantail of their yachts everywhere, making sure that everything's running right, and playing golf and all that stuff, and watching the ponies run and all that. And we're here, see. Well, there aren't many of us here. That is, I'm talking about, the working, walking around, nitty-gritty people. And if you're driving along, when I give the word here, when I give the cue, no, we better not do that. Maybe too embarrassing. No, we better not. Wouldn't you like to know that there's somebody else out there? All right, there is somebody, me. Now, I'm going to concentrate. When I give you the cue, I will concentrate on something that is at great variance with what we're talking about tonight. I will concentrate on a specific object, and I will transmit those brain waves out through the 50,000-watt transmitter that we here at WOR are laying out all over the eastern seaboard. And I will lay it into your radio set. I'll lay it right on you. Now, we'll see how sensitive your brain is and whether or not your rectification circuit is rectifying properly. I'm talking about the one between your ears, not the one in that plastic cabinet. All set now? I am concentrating on something right now. Concentrating. I can see it. Oh, wow. Whew. Oh, boy. Nothing gets you tireder than some really tough, hard concentration. Of course, especially when you've got electrodes on your head and the transmitter is sucking it out and blowing it out over 50,000 states. Oh. 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 Oh, gee. Oh. Oh, it hurts. Oh. Oh. Whew. Boy, this stuff gets powerful. You just don't know what you're messing around with. You're messing around with these electronic forces. It's just incredible. Oh, sure. Listen, I remember when I was a kid, when I first started to mess around with transmitting, and I was, I just got my amateur radio license, and I was on 40 meter CW, and I put I was running about 75 watts on this T40. Those of you who are interested in technical things, and I tuned it all up one night, and I had built I had built a dummy load. Now, a dummy load is a false transmitting antenna. Now, that's a load, It's like a little load that just drains off all your RF power, so it's supposedly not going to radiate, say. And I made this out of a 200-watt light bulb and a couple of resistors and a condenser or two that you could tune up. And I remember that night I poured 75 watts into that baby. See, I tuned it all up, and I remember the plate current dropping down there, beautiful boy. And I tuned up that final at 75-watt final. Current dropped down. The driver current, the driver voltage was up. Everything was fine. The grid current was running good. I was reading all these meter readings, see. And then I went over to my dummy load, see. And I tuned that son of a gun up, and I had a Bakelite knob on it, a plastic knob, see, on the condenser. And I tuned it up, and the light started to glow. And with that, the plate current began to swing up. I just remembered it swung up. And as it swung up, I could feel this heat coming up through my elbow joints, coming on up, all the way up into my shoulder joints. And I turned that, it tuned up beautifully. That light bulb was glowing, just beautiful, glowing. And I was pouring a 75-watt signal into the dummy load. And then I threw the meter across the dummy load, and I realized that my dummy load was not dissipating any of that current. Where was it going? Well, I stood there for 20, maybe 30 seconds trying to figure that out. And all the while, my elbow joints are heating up and my head is heating up. I could feel the sweat popping out of my brow. It was fantastic. I've got this thing going. The bulb is glowing like that. And then it hit me. I am radiating. I am radiating 75 watts of RF power on 7,182 kilocycles right in the middle of the ham band. Well, I stood there for a minute, it's radiating, it's coming out of my eyeballs, And my mother came into the bedroom. She took one look at me and says, "Your hair is standing up." My hair was standing up on end, and I did not realize it. I am radiating this current like a shot. It's going out all over the place. Well, I said, "Well, I couldn't let go of the knob. I could not." Have you ever had a gigantic shock? You can't let go of the knob? Well, I'm getting an RF current shock, and I can't let go of the knob. I said, "Ma, turn off the transmitter." She said, "What?" I said, "Ma, the transmitter, turn it off." She said, "Don't talk like that." I said, "Ma, turn off the transmitter." I said, "Holy smokes, Ma, turn it off." And she said, "Turn off what?" I said, "The transmitter, Ma! Turn it off!" Well, she pulled the switch, and I felt that current draining out of me. It went, whoo! And I'll tell you, it just soaked right out the bottom of my tennis shoes. I could feel my hair falling down again, down around my eyes. I'll tell you, it was one of the first times that I've ever felt my teeth sweat. I could taste salt in my mouth. Well, I turned up my receiver, which was on the desk there, tuned to 7182, and do you know that over 245 ham stations were calling me? I was a fantastic radiator. I was laying out a signal all over the Midwest, man, that didn't stop. I learned a lesson then. Man is capable of a lot more than he ever puts himself to the test. Man can do almost, incidentally, for those of you who are interested, I tuned up as a 3/4 wave extended double ZEP on 40. That was the actual electrical characteristics that I found that I have. An extended double ZEP on 40, and when I double down on 20 and I radiate myself on 20, I work as a dipole, a straight dipole. Down on 15, I work as a folded Yagi. And so, man, really has no... Did you pick up what I was sending out to you out there, friends? Did you pick it up? Don't tell a soul. Don't tell a soul.